In the last section, we signed up to the Google OAuth API and got our client ID and our client secret. At present, we just copy pasted these two tokens into our index.js file. We just did that in case you took a long break between the last video and this one. I did not want you to have to go hunting around the Google Developer Console trying to find these two keys. Now we're going to hook the keys up to our Google strategy very shortly. But before we do, I want to talk a little bit about what these keys are doing for us and some considerations that we have to have around them. Okay, so first off, the client ID. That is what we refer to as a public token. It is completely okay if anyone else in the world gets access to that client ID. No problem whatsoever. All it does is identify our application to Google servers. And it's completely okay if we share that token with the outside world. However, the client secret is a much more secure piece of information, as evidenced by the word secret in it, right? So this client secret is something that we do not want to share with anyone else by mistake or on purpose. If someone else gets access to our client secret, all of a sudden they will have elevated privileges inside of our OAuth account, which is definitely a worst case scenario. So we want to make sure that we do not accidentally share this client secret with the outside world. So why is this relevant? Why am I bringing this up right now? Well, here's the thing. At present, we have committed our project using Git. We are using source control with Git, right? And we did that to do our deployment to Heroku. Now, it's entirely reasonable to assume that you might turn around very shortly and decide that you want to push your project up to GitHub. Well, if you pushed your project up to GitHub and it contains the client secret, all of a sudden, everyone in the world who has access to your repository on GitHub can read your client secret in plain text. So in this section, we're going to take a very brief detour away from all this passport stuff, and we're going to figure out how we can securely store our client secret inside of our project and make sure that we do not accidentally push it up to GitHub. So let's get to it. Now, before we start the actual implementation here, I want to very quickly say that we're going to do one kind of like brief implementation, let's say, of storing this client secret, but very shortly we're going to come back and improve it just a little bit to handle our case where we're deploying to Heroku as well. So I'm going to give you just a very sneak peek of a diagram here. Okay, so this is eventually the type of setup we're going to do, but for right now we're going to take a little bit more straightforward approach. But we're going to come back and implement this flow in just a little bit for handling all the different secrets inside of our application. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to find our server directory. We're going to make a new folder inside of there called config, and then inside of that folder, we'll make a new file called keys.js. Now we're going to store all of our different sensitive keys inside of this keys.js file, and then we're going to make sure that we never ever commit it to Git, which means that we'll never accidentally push it up to GitHub. So I'm going to go back over to my index.js file. I'm going to find my client ID. Here it is right here. I'm going to select the entire thing and then cut it. I will then change over to my keys.js file, and I'll say module.exports equals an object. I'll say Google client ID, and then I'm going to paste the key as a string and make sure that I put a comma at the very end. And then as a second line, I'll say Google client secret. I'll go back over to the index.js file. I'll copy the client secret and then paste it in here as a string as well. Okay, so just very quick what we just did. We declared a module.export statement. This created an object and assigned it to the module.exports property. That allows us to require both of these properties into another file, like say our index.js file. So the module.export statement will be seen a couple times throughout this course, and we use it to export code and make it available to other files inside of our application. So now that we have access to the client ID and the client secret right here, let's make sure that we never ever accidentally commit this file to source control with Git. So I'm going to find my git ignore file. Remember, we had previously created the git ignore file to say that we never wanted to accidentally commit our node modules directory. So inside of here, we're going to add the file name of keys.js. Okay, and that's pretty much all we have to do. You'll notice that inside of my code editor Atom automatically grays out files that will not be committed to source control. And so the instant I save my getignore file with keys.js, keys.js over in the file pane kind of grays itself out to say, oh, this file is not going to be committed to Git anymore. All right, so that's pretty much it. Remember, this is kind of a temporary solution that we're using right now. Very shortly, we're going to come back and take care of a little bit more complex and robust solution, but I did not want to kind of stray away too far from the Passport stuff that we're doing right now. As the last step, I'm going to clean up the two comments with the client ID and the client secret, like so, and then I'm going to save this file. Okay, so that's it. Let's take a break right now because I wanted to just take care of all this keys safety stuff inside of a single video. So we'll continue in the next section, and we'll figure out how we're going to import that keys.js file and make use of those two keys inside of our Google strategy. So I'll see you in just a second.